Hi everyone, it's me, Miss Crichton. Today's FQ is How Are Laws Made? In the Padlet, you will see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's legislative goals. These are laws that they want to make during Biden's presidency. Pick one goal and explain why you agree or disagree with it. On the right, you can also add a goal that you think is missing from this list. Pause this video now while you respond to the do now. The focus of today's lesson is the lawmaking process. At the end of today's lesson, once you know more about this process, I'll ask you to predict whether Biden's goals have a good chance of becoming law. The first thing you need to know is that Congress is primarily responsible for making laws. So the president can suggest laws, but they need the cooperation of Congress to actually get these ideas passed into law. This is the idea behind the system of checks and balances that's written into the Constitution. Checks and balances are ways that the three branches can choose to cooperate with each other or choose to limit each other's power. Checks and balances can really slow down and complicate the lawmaking process, but the point is to prevent one person from having all the power and to prevent our democracy from turning into a monarchy or dictatorship. We're going to see many examples of checks and balances in the lawmaking process. For me, the best explanation of this process is still this corny cartoon from the 1970s. The main character in this cartoon is Bill. A bill is simply a law that hasn't officially become a law yet.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." Then he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. How I hope and pray that they will. But today I am still just a bill. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be a law. How I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.
Let's simplify the steps for a bill to become a law even further. Essentially, to make a law, you need three things: majority support in the Senate, majority support in the House, and the president's signature. If a bill passes through both parts of Congress, the president can still veto the bill, which means he refuses to sign it, essentially blocking it from becoming law. Congress can still override the president's veto if they get a 2/3 majority in both chambers of Congress, meaning they can pass the bill without the president's consent. However, it's unlikely that this will happen because it's really rare for 2/3 of Congress to agree on anything. Congress is usually split closer to 50-50 Republicans versus Democrats. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are Democrats. So if we want to predict whether their bills have any chance of passing, we have to know if they will have enough Democratic support in the Senate and House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, the answer is yes. Democrats have a small majority of the seats in the House of Representatives after the 2020 election. However, we still don't know which party will have a majority in the Senate. There are exactly 100 seats in the Senate. Right now, Republicans have 50 and Democrats have 48. The two remaining seats are still undecided. If these two seats go to Democrats, then whenever there's a 50-50 tie in the Senate, The Vice President, Kamala Harris, will get to cast the tie-breaking vote according to the rules laid out in the Constitution. So the fate of these 2 Senate seats is going to determine whether or not Biden and Harris get to carry out their legislative goals. By the way, I should mention that there is no rule that senators always have to vote with their party. Sometimes moderate Democrats vote with Republicans and moderate Republicans vote with Democrats. But for the most part, representatives tend to vote with their party. You might be wondering, what's up with Georgia? Why do they still not know the results of their Senate races? Remember when we said that states are in charge of running their own elections and different states can have different election rules? Georgia has a rule that if no candidate gets at least 50% of the votes, then they have to have another election called a runoff. In November, both of Georgia's Senate races had 3 candidates, which meant that no one was able to get above 50% of the vote. In the runoff elections, only the top 2 candidates compete against each other, so that one of them is guaranteed to get a majority of the votes. These runoff elections will happen on January 5th, and until then, everyone's eyes will be on Georgia. You'll learn more about Georgia's runoff elections in today's assignment and use that evidence to make a prediction about whether Joe Biden will be able to carry out any of his legislative goals. That's it for me. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.